Yeah, it's your boy TeflonJohn with the IAmTeflonJohn Podcast Show. This is episode number 1. We're going to talk about surviving the process to make your dreams a reality. That's right. It's that time of year again. Christmas is right around the corner, and so are New Year's. So a lot of time around that New Year's time, I know you guys are concentrating on trying to become a better version of yourself. I know you guys are trying to concentrate on what will you do next. You know what I'm saying? But the crazy thing is, this time last year, we were talking about and having the same conversation. So this year, this goal of this podcast episode, number 1, is to help you get those dreams moving. And we just want to talk about New Year's resolutions because with New Year's resolutions comes thought. You know what I'm saying? I love New Year's resolutions because at least it provokes thought. At least it provokes change. But change is important, but change is also very uncomfortable for most. A lot of times when we're talking about changing, we're talking about changing our circle of friends. A lot of times we begin to talk about changing the clothes we wear, changing the way we talk. But a lot of people stay in the comfort zone. And if you have dreams and if you have goals, it's very hard. Also very, I wouldn't say impossible, but it's very extremely difficult to achieve something new if you're not willing to do something different. So with that, change is very important. And with that comes, let's go back to where we're talking about changing your friends. A lot of times, if you want to look at last year, this same time last year where we're going into 2016, we want to look at why we didn't accomplish those goals, those dreams, those visions from last year. Part of which could be your environment. And a lot of times that could be your circle of friends. Let's start with that. If you're around those same people last year that didn't have goals, didn't have dreams, didn't choose to do anything, that's not going to inspire you to do anything also. So you have to look at those people too. Are they speaking life into me? Or are they taking a life away from me? Are they trying to help my situation or are they hurting? So a lot of times when you have big goals, big dreams, big visions, it's even hard to share it with anybody. But if you would like to share it with someone, it would be your family or friends. But if they're not creating an atmosphere that's conducive for you to go after those goals, you have to cut them loose. Now, you can still deal with them, but as far as going into the new year, I wouldn't waste any time. I wouldn't waste any time when it comes to dealing with negative people, negative thoughts. You want people that are going to speak life into your situation, that are going to give you the courage, that are going to give you the faith to go after what is yours. A lot of times we're talking about our environment, not only our friends, we're talking about where are we at. Are we staying in the same places? Are you visiting the same places? Try to branch out. Try to travel some. Look at life from a different perspective. In which your perspective will change, your perception will change. A lot of times when we go through things in life and we're trying to get dreams and goals, a lot of times when it gets hard, we perceive that the wrong way. Maybe instead of it getting hard to the point where you want to stop, maybe that's a challenge. You know what I'm saying? I come from a sports background, so a lot of times when we played hard teams, the practice week would be challenging. It wouldn't be made to break us. It wouldn't be made to make us quit, but it was made to bring something out of us. So when you perceive what you're going through and what you're trying to do in life, you have to perceive it as a challenge or as an obstacle that you must get over. And with your environment changing, you also have to think about what are you doing in that environment? What are you doing around your friends? Are you allowing people to slow your process down? Are you allowing yourself to be around people that are enabling your procrastination? Are you allowing yourself to be around people who are enabling you to have lazy habits? You know, you want to connect with somebody that's either doing the same thing that you're trying to do or have already done what you're trying to do. So the biggest thing is with that environment is it's going to be uncomfortable, to just start hanging around new people, to start talking to new people. And it's going to be uncomfortable not being around the people that you're used to being around. But I guarantee you, in the end, it will change. And a lot of times you really can't measure change overnight. Some things can be only measured over time. I was watching videos by Simon Sinek, and he was saying that, some people go to the gym and they work out for one night. Then they go home, they wake up, look in the mirror, no results. Then they work out a second night. Go home, wake up, they look in the mirror, and they quit because some things in life can only be measured over time. Now, if you commit yourself that this is the correct course of action, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start hanging around new friends. I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to stop smoking. It may take time, but in 6 months, when you look back, you will be able to measure that change. You may not know the exact time that it took for that change to take place. It's just like falling in love. You may not know the day it took for you to fall in love, but the little things that your spouse done, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, or what have you, the little things that they done, everything added up to that big moment of falling in love. So you have to commit to a course of action. And I would like to go into a quote. There's a video on Facebook that I've seen where Denzel Washington is talking about dreams, and he was saying dreams without goals are nothing but dreams. They will remain dreams without goals and deadlines. And dreams without goals will ultimately fuel frustration and disappointment. So when it comes to having dreams, you have to set goals. And now we're going to go into just my advice for how we're going to plan goals for the new year. So upon the new year, everybody wants to do a lot of things. And I'm pretty sure by the time you hear this radio show, podcast, you're going to be thinking about a lot of things that you would like to accomplish. Get some pen and paper. That's step number 1. Get pen and paper. All right. Now, step number 2 is you want to actually write these things down. Your goals should be tangible, something that you can see, something that you can touch. So putting them on pen and paper allows you to revisit your goals daily. Now, you can have month-to-month goals. You can have year-to-year goals. You can have day-to-day goals, hourly goals. But you want to have something that's going to have a deadline to where if you set, your ultimate goal could be, I want to lose 100 pounds this year. Okay, how many pounds do you want to lose per month? How many pounds do you want to lose per week? And eventually, over time, that will add up to ultimate change. So go ahead and take that, whatever you're thinking about, and you're going to write down that ultimate goal. Now, step number 2, after you have a goal, you want to make sure that that goal is obtainable. Make sure that it is written clear. You want a clear goal because after that, after you have written your goal down, now you want to sit back and you want to look at, okay, now I have this goal. Now I must map a plan. And the plan must be clear. Imagine if we wanted to get into a car and travel from Lynchburg to California. With living in 2016, every smartphone has GPS. So we would go into the GPS, we would find the app, and we would enter the destination. The destination is similar to your ultimate goal. Once we pop that in, the GPS software would then come up with a list of steps that we must take called directions. Each direction is planned by the GPS system to stay on this route for X amount of miles. Turn here, stay on this for X amount of miles, merge here. And what happens is by you setting that GPS system, you don't get lost and you don't wander. Even if you stop for a rest stop, it will reroute you. So when it comes to goals, a lot of people make a mistake by not making a plan. And then what happens is 2017 going into 2018, you're still trying to come up with the same stuff because you didn't have a great plan on how to get that goal accomplished. So you want to come up with a step-by-step process, and some of that just comes with doing research. You know what I'm saying? So whatever you're trying to go into, whether it be a musician, whether it be starting a podcast show, whether it be starting a blog, whether it be starting a business, go and do the research for that industry. And once you research it, you can see like equipment you need. You can see steps you have to take, papers, fees, money, whatever it is. You can then map out a goal financially. You can map out a goal physically, whether it be things you have to actually go do. And then what you start doing is checking them off your list. Now, a lot of times what happens mentally is as we accomplish these goals and as we cross them out, what's going to happen is you're going to feel a sense of accomplishment. And what that's going to do is make you hungry. That's going to make you want to go after more goals. That's going to also make you think that, okay, if I can do this, I can do that. So what's going to happen is now that you're accomplishing goals, you're staying busy. You also want to balance your time in between your goals, in between family. But you also want to keep at it because the last thing I want to talk about is your why. The reason you're doing this, the reason that you want to go after this goal, your why must be big enough to sustain you through the process because adversity will come. Adversity is going to come. Meaning, like me personally, I'm a personal trainer. I've been working out for years. I've been an athlete. I played sports in my entire life, and I was diagnosed with spinal stenosis last year. And with that cane, I had also had a bulging disc, so I had nerve pain. I went from running, squatting, over 300 something pounds, bench pressing 280, to my wife having to help me get dressed. And through that time, I went through a silent depression, but I was still training, still teaching people. And I began to give up on my goals because physically I couldn't do it. Mentally, I could still think about it. Mentally, I was still passionate enough to go after that. But what happened was physically I couldn't do it. So one day, I think it took 9 months, for me to get my act together. But one day I remembered why I started this journey. And the reason why I started that journey was big enough for me to do the research, go to physical therapy, start going to a doctor's appointment, and then work through that adversity to help accomplish that goal. Hadn't it been for my why being big enough, you wouldn't be hearing my voice now through this podcast. My ultimate goal, the ultimate why I do everything is to inspire people, to motivate people, to try to bring them out that moment of darkness to where, life has beat them down to the point to where all they're used to is darkness. I just want to give a little bit of light to where you can do anything. I just want to inspire you that you can do anything. So giving you this podcast show to where we're talking about, surviving the process to make your dreams a reality. Even once that's done, it's all about mindset. If you can make it up in your mind that you're going to get it done, you can survive whatever, whether it be a death in the family, whether it be a sickness, whether it be a financial low. You must believe and have faith. Part of my theme at IAmTeflonJohn is walking out of fear and into faith. And what's crazy is a lot of times you would think is walking out of fear, you would take the blindfold off. But in this instant, you want to put the blindfold on. Because a lot of times what we see can be a hindrance. I was watching Daredevil on Netflix. And I'm a comic book guy, but I never really followed Daredevil that tight. And I remember seeing this episode where Daredevil's a kid, and he's with his mentor, this guy named Stick. And Stick is also blind. They're sitting in the park. And Stick was like, hey, what do you see? And he was like, I'm blind. He was like, I know that. He said, but what do you see? He told him that, I can't see anything. I'm blind. He said, you have to listen with your senses. You have to see with your senses. And basically what he told him is your sight is a distraction. And he began to see, by really feeling everything around him. So sometimes the fact that we see the obstacle in front of us is the very hindrance that keeps us not from going. It's like seeing a bully in a lunchroom. You don't go in the lunchroom at all because the bully's sitting there. He may or may not bother you. But it's your job to walk in being full of faith, not fearful, full of faith that nothing's going to happen. And a lot of times with goals, we tend to focus on the wrong thing, going back to your perception. Sometimes whatever you want to do takes a lot of money. You may not have the money, so instead of focusing on the goal and what you can do, what you're capable of, you tend to focus on the money that you don't have. You tend to focus on that financial woe. So instead of getting started, at least doing the research, at least doing the things that don't require the money, you just sit there and you focus on those things that are hindering you. And a lot of times too, in life, we tend to focus on the wrong stuff. If you're going for goals, focus on what you can do. And part of my recovery with my spine, I had to do what I could do. Now, at first, I would focus on, I can't do this. I can't do bench press. I can't do deadlifts. But I could walk. I could do, arm curls. I could do sit-ups. So a lot of times we have to take the baby steps. Taking baby steps are still making progress. Remember, any progress is progress, and progress will also bring happiness. And with progress, going back to that sense of accomplishment, it's going to build that confidence that you can do more. So I just want y'all guys to really see what I'm trying to get to you, that everyone's going to have a dream. Everyone's going to have a New Year's resolution, no matter how big, no matter how small. But this year, I want you to survive the process that makes your dreams a reality. By listening to this podcast, by sharing this podcast, and just going by what I told you, you have to live life. Part of your life is getting things done and finding your purpose.